How's that? Can you hear me now? Dang, that is... Thank you for letting me know. Is this any better? Okay, cool. I have spent 17 minutes talking to myself. That's awesome, but that's what we're here for. Okay, so let me start over and get all your semicolons or you'll shoot. Yeah. So what's up, Stony Eagle? Glad to have you here. Boy, I just spent this whole time building up what we're actually going to work on today. Glad to know that it was time wasted because my mic wasn't working. Anyway, the good news is I have it well versed now, or well practiced. Essentially, what we're looking at today is we did a little bit of review on what happened in the previous streams where we set up the GitHub actions. Stony. Yes. We're looking at what we did to set up the previous in the previous project, where we automated some of our code checking. We automated our linting, which checks for code quality and that we're following the same practices across the team. We set up a check for using TypeScript to do static analysis to make sure that the functions that as we're calling functions, the functions are receiving the correctly typed information that it's expecting. And we set up a v-test to check that our code functionally works correctly. So TypeScript will check that a function receives a string when it's expecting a string or a number when it's expecting a number, but it can't tell us whether that number is the correct number, like if it has to be between 1 through 10 or something like that. And all of this was to say that we did a pretty decent job setting up the automated testing and code quality checking and static analysis. But where we sort of fell short is, we actually took it a step further and we introduced those checks. So these 3 checks that we have here, we can, Yep. Oh, did I just lose my screen? There we go. The 3 checks that we have with the linting, the static analysis, and the testing, we can run those locally and check what our code looks like and make sure that it's good. And then we also wanted to take it a step further and say, anytime someone commits code to our project or makes a new commit or a pull request, we wanted to automate that so that it's not just checking when we check the code ourselves manually, but whenever a new commit lands in our project, GitHub is going to run these checks for us as well. So we can see when all 3 pass, we'll get a green check. When any of them fail, we'll get these red X's. And how that looks so far is in our project, we have a folder called at .github, which GitHub will look for. And inside of .github, we have a folder called workflows, and that's what GitHub uses to set up your GitHub actions. And in there, we have a file, which can be named whatever you want. We called it checkcode.yml. It's a YAML file. And this GitHub action is the one that checks our code for us. So on any push or commit that gets pushed to these branches, either main, develop, or staging, it's going to run these jobs. It's going to set up an environment for us, check out our code, create some caching instance for us, install all of the dependencies needed to run these checks, and then it's going to individually run all 3 checks. Now, there is a problem with this setup, and that is the fact that I, as the developer that created this, I know that if I want to check my code, I can go into my terminal and I can say, hey, let's see if the tests are passing. Let's see if the TypeScript checking is working. Let's see if we're following the conventions of our style guide for our coding practices, right? Right, Stony? Let's make sure that we have those semicolons in place. Now, I know that because I created this. I set up these terminal commands. But not everyone on the team needs to be using the terminal. Not everyone on the team knows how to use the terminal. And we want to make this easier, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is, well, number one, I'm going to make my life easier because as developers, that's what we do, right? So instead of having these as 3 individual commands that I need to check, I just want to check it all at once. I want to audit my code. I want to say, hey, let's run npm run lint and npm run test and or types ts and npm run test all at the same time. Now we're going to pass this run flag to the test command because by default vtest opens in a watch mode, and I don't necessarily want to watch for changes at the time. When I'm doing the audit, I just want it to tell me, do my test pass or not. Okay, I think that gets us caught up for all the part that I missed because my mic wasn't working. So now we should be able to run npm run audit. And we'll see that it's going to start by running this linter, and then it's going to run this type checker, and then it's going to run our test runner. And it looks like all 3 of those didn't have any issues, right? We can confirm our suspicions by going into main.js, removing a semicolon. So this is going to make ESLint angry. We can come back here. We can run that same audit. And the first thing it's going to do is run ESLint. And that should have checked my code. So let me see. It's not saved. There we go. Now it's saved. Let's run the audit one more time. ESLint on the source folder, and it's going to bail right away because it's going to say, hey, you need this semicolon. Otherwise, Stony is going to be angry. Okay, we can make ESLint happy. What if we remove, or what if we pass in test here? Oh, yeah, get type expects anything, so that's not a good example. If we remove the second parameter here, we can see that now TypeScript is a little angry. Yes, Stony, you are ahead of this game. We're going to get to that shortly, but I have to cover my problems first. Very astute of you. So we fix this. We have our auditor. Now we get everything in one command. This is nice. TypeScript is going to check, and you'll just have to take my word for it. We don't have to spend too much time checking all of these. But our auditor is working, right? And it's all in one command. Now there's a problem with this system that we have set up, and that is that you can see if we get down, actually, I'm gonna show this other problem. So if we go to our utils and we break one of our utils, right? That means our tests are going to fail. But if we run our audit right now, we're still waiting on the linter to check, and then we're waiting on the static analysis to check, and then we're checking our tests, which it would actually be a lot nicer if those ran at the same time because one does not depend on the other. So this actually takes longer for us to wait than we need to. So let's fix that, and let's fix that issue. Instead of having everything waiting, we are going to look at a package called npmjs.com, and we're going to find a package called concurrently. Booyah! So let's install this. And what this does, it runs multiple commands concurrently, as the name would suggest. So let's see this in action. We go to our terminal here, bump up the music a little bit, and we say npm install as a dev dependency concurrently. I always forget the syntax for this. It looks like this. Start concurrently. Remember to surround separate commands with quotes. Okay. So this is kind of what it looks like, I suppose. Do-ka-do-do. Do-ka-do. Do-ka-do-do. So now that we have that in place, instead of having our audit command run each of these sequentially, yes, Stony, parallel. That's what we are looking for. It's like parking, but nicer. Okay, so this is our first command, npm run lint. So we're going to pass that in as the first one. And then npm run ts is our second command. And then we're going to do our third one. So backslash double quotes, and then backslash double quotes at the end, because these have to be quoted. Although I wonder if I need double quotes. It would be nice if I could just do single quotes, because something about double quotes just kind of irks me. So let's try single quotes. We're going to say concurrently run npm run lint, npm run ts, and npm run test. So these all run at the same time. So let's try this one more time. And we will see all three of these running at the same time somehow. And this was so much faster. I don't know if you could really notice, but the lint and the test and the TSC came up all at once. And the only reason why this took a while is because the actual test command took a little while to run. But the actual starting of each one is much quicker. So that's nice. Now, this brings us to our next, well, solving two problems at once. One, it solves my problem of having to type. If I want to check all of my code, I only have one command to type now, and it's going to check my linting, it's going to check my static analysis, it's going to check my tests. Two, it's going to make that test run faster for me, which is great. But in addition to that benefit, when we push our code to GitHub, it's going to speed up how fast these tests run. Now, these don't actually take very long because our code base is very small and we don't have a lot of tests. After all, this is just kind of a beginner, like starter repo. But as we add more code to our project and as we add more tests, all of these things, all of these tasks will take longer and longer. And when you are running GitHub Actions, you will be charged based on the entire duration of all of your GitHub Actions for the month. So if you push a lot of new changes to your project, and if those changes or if your actions take a long time to run, eventually it's going to start costing you more and more money. What do you got here, Stony? There's a flag to make the output like it used to be with single command running. It removes the array prefix and gets the color back. That's nice. Let's see. If you know off the top of your head, that'd be great. Let's see. Max process, names, raw. Is it raw? No color, hide, groups, timings, group. Yeah, if you know off the top of your head, let me know. But we don't need to worry about that too much right now. Okay, so this saves us time, right? And it saves us money depending on how long our GitHub Actions are running. If we have a lot or if we have a large code base and they just take a long time to run. Cool. Now, the next thing I want to fix here is, and this is probably where we're going to spend more time today. You think it's raw. All right, let's take a look. Raw, like name, poker face. Raw, 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 raw. Yeah, looks like you're right. Raw. Well, we'll keep that in there because I like that syntax a little better as well. But you see how much faster all three of those commands came out, and then now we're just waiting on the test because the tests take a little bit longer. Not a problem. But they all start up faster. So now instead of waiting on the first one and then the second one and then the third one, the maximum amount of time that we'll wait is equivalent to the single process that takes the longest, not all three, one after the other. Okay, so where am I going next? Yes, let's talk about what is the next optimization or improvement that we can make here. When we have people join our project, they will benefit from seeing where their errors are. Now, we took the time to set up our project such that if we make changes as I'm typing and I make a stylistic change, I will see that because I'm using VS Code and I have ESLint installed. So ESLint is going to tell me, or VS Code is going to tell me, hey, you have an ESLint problem here. You need a semicolon. And I, as a good developer, can either insert that, or I can set up my dev environment such that when I hit save, it will insert it for me. We also get errors when we have some static analysis issue, and that's fine. But we can't expect everyone on our team to have the same setup as us, and we can't expect everyone on our team to necessarily even like see those red little squigglies. So that means there's a higher probability that as people on our team commit code to the project, they aren't going to see those problems. Now, of course, we can just say, hey, before you commit code, just make sure every time you're about to submit it, you run this npm audit command. And when you run this npm audit command, it's going to give you these errors. And in this case, we're getting the static analysis error that says, oh, you passed in or this function expected 2 arguments, but only got 1. And, that's sure. If I wasn't seeing those red squigglies, this would be helpful because then I could say, okay, I see this here. Most likely, no one's going to do that, right? Like, no one is going to write their code and then go to the terminal and then run this locally before they submit their changes. I mean, maybe someone will, but I think what's more likely is they will actually submit these changes and push them to the code base and maybe make a PR if they can't push directly to, the master branch or the main branch or whatever. And the way that we've set things up is if they push those changes in their code base to the repository, that's fine because our checkers are still going to run their checks on the project and say, hey, this code looks good, or hey, this code doesn't look good. And if the code doesn't look good, cool, that will provide feedback to the person that made those changes, and they'll be able to fix those changes, right? They can come in and they can see an error like this, and they can see the linting error or whatever it needs to be called. And they'll say, oh, okay, I see that my test failed, right? Now, that's all fine and good, but once again, these are processes that are running in our GitHub actions that really don't need to be. Hey, Sammy Alip, what's going on? You got a question? Glad to have you here. We are talking improving code quality with GitHub actions. So, once again, some of this comes down to expenses, saving money for our organization. Because if we are expecting our developers to rely on these GitHub actions, concurrently raw kill others. Ah, that's a good one. So if you have a single failure, you'll kill the other processes. I like it. That wasn't what I was going for, but that is a really good tip. Kill others. Okay. So if you are asking your developers or building these tools in place, more likely than not, people will come here and use them. And that's a good thing. We want people to use them. However, we're also pushing some things onto GitHub actions that don't need to be there. Once again, we obviously want to check that our tests are passing and the static analysis and all that. But if we can avoid running some of these when possible, we can actually save ourselves some money as well. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. He says to a silent camera pointing at his face. How we're going to do that is we are actually going to sort of covertly force our users to run these audit commands or run these code checks on their own machines automatically. So this command that I have here, right? That's this Npm Run Audit, right? That we've set up. This will run tests and static analysis and linting. Now, we probably don't need everyone to run all of those, but it would be really nice to have this ESLint check before anyone commits their code to our project. That way, at least we know that the code like looks good. So we're not, so people don't need to make these little weird code fixing errors, sort of nitpicky errors. We can just have them fix automatically, especially because ESLint has the flag to fix things automatically. Like, let's see, if I look at my code and I remove a semicolon and I save without auto formatting, that's an issue, right? And if I run npm run lint, cool, ESLint's going to be like, hey, dude, doesn't look good. You got to fix this. But ESLint does conveniently tell us that this problem is actually fixable. Like ESLint knows how to fix this. What up, Brent? Glad to have you here. ESLint knows how to fix this by simply passing the fix flag. Because it's the semicolon that's missing, and ESLint, all it needs to do is just like put it in there. We can run npm run lint, pass the fix flag to it. We're not going to get that error anymore. And notice that without me having to change my code, that semicolon is now placed in there automatically. So, so that's really handy. But the question is, why don't we just do that automatically for our developers before they commit code to GitHub? That way, if there are fixable issues, we don't need to run our GitHub actions unnecessarily, get some errors, have them come back and fix them, and then push it up, those fixes. We can save our developers some time, and we can save our GitHub actions some time, which ultimately saves us money. So how are we doing that? Glad you asked. So there are these things called Git Hooks. And I honestly couldn't tell you a whole lot about them, except that inside of, inside of your repository or your project folder, if you have Git set up, you can do ls la. You can see that when you initiate a GitHub repo, you get a .git folder. So you get this .git folder. And yes, Stony Eagle, you're right. If you have a legitimate error, then killing the other processes will save time. But in this case, we're talking about an error that could actually be automatically fixed. So ideally, we don't kill processes for fixable errors. We just have the machines fix the errors for us. So anyway, inside of this Git folder, anytime you set it up, you won't see it in GitHub, right? Like I'm in this same project. I don't see the Git folder. I do see the .github folder, but it does live there. .git, and I think that's the only hidden one. But you can technically go into your .git folder and add a folder called hooks. And I'm not going to read through all this. It's kind of, I've never actually done it manually, but we'll look at this. What Git hooks allow you to do is in the Git process, there's various life cycle events that happen when a user makes a commit, before a user makes a commit, after a user makes a commit, before a push, after a push. We have all of these here. You have pre-commit, you have prepare commit message, commit message. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but the reason why I bring it up is because anytime that we are asking users to send code to us via GitHub or via Git, they have to use Git actions, which triggers these Git lifecycle events. They have to make commits. So when you make a commit, wouldn't it be cool to just run a little bit of code right before you actually make that commit? And we can do that with a pre-commit hook. Now, there's another tool that makes working with Git hooks a lot easier. In npm or in JavaScript world, you may have heard of npm JS Husky, I think. This is probably the most common one that I'm familiar with in JavaScript land. And this will help you manage Git hooks. There's one that I've been playing with called Left Hook, and I like this one because it's actually cross language. So learning this, I could use it for any language that I work on. Just like Node pre-start, npx. Yeah, like Node has certain lifecycle events that happen, and you can have scripts that run on those lifecycle events. That's what Git hooks are going to be for us. So we have this Left Hook project. So let's get started with it. I think I need to npm install it. Let me see. Guides for Node. Okay, here it is. So we're going to do that. Npm install arc wide left hook, save dev, once again, a dev dependency. And then, okay, fortunately, they have pretty handy, straightforward setup for us as well. Okay, so we go to our project. In the root of our project, we make a file called lefthook.yml. Hello? Oh, I already have it? Oh, I already have it. Haha. There you go. I must have initiated this to begin with. So I think we don't need any of this. So then this is going to say, like, you edit the file, you can add these pre-commit things. I don't know what all of this does, but fortunately for me, I have an example of a pre-commit hook that I use on a different project, or a left hook.yaml file. So this is what my example looks like. And what this is saying is this is going to configure a pre-commit hook. So this is code. This is a command or a collection of commands that are going to be executed before the commit is run. And it's important to note that this runs before the commit, because when you're working with Git, each different commit is a snapshot, a point in time in the history of that project. By running commands just before the commit occurs, we can actually do things like modify the code as part of that commit message. So we can see here we have, I'm running something. I'm running the local version of ESLint with the fix command. Left hook gives us access to the files with this syntax. So the files that are part of that commit. So only the staged files. So for example, I can also save time by running only the linting commands on just the one file that's changed, instead of, if I have a project with thousands of files, it's going to take longer to run that over thousands of files. But if I can run my linter on a single file, that's great. So let's do that. We're going to say, instead of running lint, I'm going to see if I can do npm run audit. Or no, not audit. Right. That makes sense. So I don't want to run my audit command because I don't necessarily want to run my tests and my static analysis every time a file is committed, because most likely users will commit several times. But I do want to run my linter because that will automatically like fix the styles of the code. Hopefully that makes sense. And I only want to run it on the staged files. And then after any changes have been made, I want to add those to the commit that's being made. So let's look at this in each step. Let's set this to the original just npm or ESLint command. So if I do ESLint, and now let's see, we've got some changes. And I say, cool, I added this left hook command. And I'm going to say added left hook. So as soon as I commit this, it should run some code check. It's going to take a little bit longer to commit because it's waiting on this ESLint thing to run. and then it's done. Okay, that was a bad example because it didn't actually do anything. So let's undo last commit. Let's go back to our main JS. Let's reintroduce a linting error. And now the cool thing about this is now my code is saved and I want to make this commit, right? And I'm going to say, cool, I added left hook, and it's going to run this process. And currently it should be running that linter. And it's making me look stupid. So how do we verify this? Let's see, test it. npm left hook install and npx. Okay, so we can run the pre-commit hook manually. Should. Okay, so it's checking. That's weird that it didn't do that last time. It looks like it's configured correctly. So I just have a little syntax error. Let me add another command and try and fix this. Just lint log. We'll get rid of the glob, and this is going to be a command that we actually run. We're just going to say echo hello. Okay, it looks like we did actually log it, so that's nice. How can I debug this? Because technically, ESLint, well, I should be able to run this, right? And by running this, I should see that error, and I do see that error. So why did this not run on that last commit? We're running our pre-commit hook. Still doesn't work. Okay, let's try this. I'm going to try this in the terminal. So let's see here. Git status is going to tell me that I have 2 files, 1 brand new file, 1 modified file. These are not staged. These are staged. So we're going to say git commit message is test. This is now running left hook, which is great, but didn't actually do it. Served hooks, pre-commit, and prepare commit message. Okay, but if we say git status now, git log is going to say that we got our test message. What the heck, yo? That should not have worked. Now it's time to put debugging hat on, and let's see what I can do. I have a question. Check the wiki, or let's see this. This is showing an example of pre-commit hooks running in parallel. Sure, that's fine. Runs our linters and our tests. Sorry, Dave. All right, Hal. What is it? Hal 9000. Git diff name only push. That's a glob. Just find related files. Okay. Do, 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 do. Yeah, come on, that's a good movie. Okay, so this is interesting because it should, well, all right. forget all that. Let me just go back to what I wanted to show off anyway. That this I thought should have failed. So let's try just ESLint checking the staged files. And let's see how this gets us. Undo last commit, please. Okay, and we'll try running that git status, cool, and commit one more time. Now we should see left hook running, runs the pre-commit. Okay, there we go. I don't know what the problem was there. In the previous example, it should have worked, but now we actually have it working where it's going to run that ESLint command that we had. And I could probably even pass in like npm run lint, maybe, but we don't want to do that. I'm going to run ESLint, and I'm going to pass in the currently staged files. So now that I've got that there, we can come back here. We can see if I run tests and I do it from the VS Code UI, it's going to try and do the commit message. And eventually it's going to stop thinking. Eventually. Yeah, okay. Thanks. All right. Well, it's going to make me look stupid again. What is going on with that? Undo last commit. I've saved it. Run this again, right? It's running my pre-commit hooks. It fails, as it should. So let's try one more thing. If instead of just linting, we pass that fix flag as well, now it should actually fix my errors as part of the commit process. So it's running pre-commit. We're waiting. We're still waiting. And okay, cool. It executed ESLint. The summary was done in 1.43 seconds. We are not seeing any issues. And let me check my Git status. Git status. Okay, those things have changed. And I'm pretty sure it should have fixed my code for me. So it did add this. It did add the semicolon here. Now, there's one problem with this is we've got something cool. We've kind of got it fixed where it's like adding those changes for us. Look at that. That's back in there. That should be fine. There's one problem is that right now it's, I need to like, okay, I'm going to fix some of this stuff up so that we have fewer changes to deal with. Check code is fine, 2%. We can undo that. That's fine. Get rid of you. Cool. Git type. Yeah, we can get rid of you. That's fine. Okay, let me fix a couple things here. And we're going to say adding left hook dependency. Oh, that was supposed to be in there. Oops. Sure. We'll do that, and we'll say adding left hook config. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm obsessed with having in fact, I just don't care if there's semicolons or not. I want the machine to do the thinking for me. So that's what we're going to look at, right? So we've got a project here, and we can see, I'm actually going to fix this. So am I going to fix this? Yeah. Adding semi. Okay. So now this is going to run. All of our code is going to be like looking good, working good, very nice code quality. Everyone's happy. As soon as that's done running, cool. So if I go to my code base and I see now, or if I'm a developer and I'm just coming onto this project and I've just pushed things down, this should not be telling me that there's changes. Okay, yeah, in fact, it's telling me there's no changes. And I say, cool, we're gonna, I don't know, what are we gonna do here? We're gonna also console log doubled, right? Console.log doubled. The semis don't matter, okay? For the most part, with very few exceptions. So we have an issue here. One is it's telling me to insert a semicolon and to insert a return at the end of the line, right? It's saying insert a new line. Now, if I was a developer that for some reason, let's say in this project, I'm a developer, I'm contributing, and I have ESLint disabled. In my VS Code editor, it is very likely that I am not going to see that little red squiggly that tells me, hey, just so you know, your team outlined some rules, and part of the rules are that this every file should end with a new line character. So, yeah. So I'm technically breaking one of my team's coding rules, and if I remove this semicolon, I'm breaking another one. So you can see that when I had ESLint enabled, I was getting that feedback as I'm typing. Now the problem is, for other developers, for example, who I am right now, I'm not getting that feedback. So as far as I'm concerned, I have a perfectly good bit of code here that I'm adding, right? I can see my change. I've added it. This project was supposed to also log this doubled thing. So this new feature is ready to go. So I'm going to say new feature, hot and ready, right? So one of the problems is if I hope this works, but if I commit this, don't make me look stupid now. Come on. You know you want to do it. It didn't do it. For some reason, it's not working inside of VS Code. So we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. We can see in our Git repository or our Git terminal, I'm going to check the status. We can see that there's one modified file, and we can say, okay, cool, I'm ready to commit my code, so that way I can push it to production. So I'm going to say git commit. I'm going to give it a message of new feature hot and ready, and I'm going to commit this message. And because we have left hook running, it's going to run ESLint, which is going to fix that issue for us automatically. However, there's just one problem, and that is if I check the Git status now, I can see that I went from having a staged file to now a modified file, because what happened was ESLint went ahead and fixed those issues for us, added the space, added the semicolon. I didn't do these. Just having left hook set up and having it ESLint with the fix flag did that work for me. But now, as a developer that just pushed up my changes, now I'm back in this state, in this place where, okay, I thought I committed my changes, and technically it is in the Git log. If I check my Git log, my commit did get into the Git history. The problem is, along with that commit, left hook said, oh, you want me to do some extra work while you're doing those commits? Okay, I'll do that. And part of that extra work is running the ESLint check and fix if it can. These two issues are fixable by ESLint, so it fixed those issues. But because it modified the code, that change is now in an unstaged. This file, this change is in an unstaged status. And for files to get into a commit, they need to be staged and then committed. Hopefully that's clear. Hopefully, does anyone have questions about that? Do I need to stop and explain anything right now? I know that I've covered kind of a lot. I'll take silence as we're good to keep going. So we're going to keep going. So what happens was I made changes on my code. I committed those changes. As part of the pre-commit process, left hook modified my change, modified that file further. But it modified, well, sorry, I made changes in my code. I staged my changes, and then I tried to commit them. And as part of that commit process, before the actual commit happened, left hook modified the code even further, which puts it into a modified state, but the staged change remains the same. So the file that's being committed is the staged changes before the changes that left hook had made. So how do we fix that problem? Quite simple. We go to left hook, and right after running our staged files, but still as part of the pre-commit code, shoot. I think what I want to do is then we can run git add, and we want to re-add the files that we've just modified. So we're going to run the lint and fix command on here. I'm going to move this actually to the beginning here. So ESLint and fix any of the currently staged files. And then if any of those files get modified even further, we can go ahead and add them again. That way they will be part of the current commit that's being written. So now if I go ahead and undo that last commit, which was the new feature hot and ready, we can see where our code base is right now. Yep, this makes sense. So we have git status. Whoa. That's what happens when your keyboard dies mid-sentence. So we'll plug that bad boy in. There we go, nice and connected. Restart, clear that out. So we're going to check the git status, and we'll see that we have one modified and staged file and two modified unstaged files. And it just so happens that the staged file is also has some unstaged changes. So if we look at these individually, we can see that the staged file is trying to make the original change without the semicolon or the added return. The unstaged change is the ESLint fix, which adds the semicolon and the return. And technically, I could manually add these. Like, I could add that to the stage thing or whatever. What I'm actually going to do is start completely from a clean slate. We'll go back to our code. We're going to return or remove those changes that ESLint conveniently added for us. So now the only changes that we're introducing is just adding this console log. No semicolon, no extra space. And left hook, yeah, of course, we've added the changes there, but that's fine. And if we go here and let's see, we say git add everything. We can check the git status. We can see, we can see that now the left hook file and the main.js file are both staged to be committed. And that includes the incorrectly written code in main.js. We can say git commit, add the message, the message of adding our new feature hot and ready. And as part of our pre-commit hook, we're going to run ESLint on the staged files. And because we're only looking for JavaScript files, it's only going to run on main.js. And hot damn, would you like would you look at that? ESLint has fixed our code prior to that commit being written, and then added the changes into that commit, and then fixed it for us. So this is super handy because, of course, we're talking about like fixing changes, but if it was something that was unfixable, what's an ESLint rule that is ESLint doesn't know how to fix? I think having like const b. So ESLint is going to tell us, hey, you have whatever. You have a declared variable that isn't being used. I'm actually going to get my ESLint back on before I forget. Let's enable that again. Cool. So now we have a variable that is not being used, and this is also something that I, as a developer or team lead or whatever, I may want to avoid this sort of thing because, after all, it's unnecessary code to have there, right? So I don't think ESLint knows how to fix this. So if we try to do the same thing, we say git status, and we say, okay, cool, we're going to git commit. We're going to add all of them and add the message of borked file. And we're going to try and run this one. Now, this is interesting because ESLint is pretty handy for fixing things that it can automatically, but it's also, it's missing initializer, const declared. Okay, but it's also going to not do anything that's too destructive. So adding a semicolon where it can, adding extra white space where it can, that's fine and easy. Completely removing a variable, that's something that's a little bit too risky for a linter to just like handle for you. So it won't fix that. And this goes back to that handy thing. Like, imagine if we have a bunch of people on our team that are not seeing these little red squigglies because they're using a different editor or something like that. So they're not getting this immediate feedback. It's pretty handy for them to get the feedback regardless on their machine prior to actually sending those changes to GitHub. Because that, like, not having those changes in GitHub does so much for us. It can prevent, it can prevent some of these actions from running, which again can save us money. Great. It can also, it also helps save people's time, because if this commit would have landed and been sent to some other branch, and then maybe that branch is part of a pull request, and we have to have an actual person review that code, it's likely that they would spend a lot of their time on fixes that don't need to be there. Saying, making a request for someone, hey, can you add a semicolon because it's part of our coding style guide, or hey, this variable doesn't need to be there. People's time is incredibly expensive, and it can be very frustrating to have to fix things like this. So I just wanted to share this. I guess, I guess that only took about an hour. So I have another hour for the live stream. So do we have any questions? Because I think that's as far as I wanted to, that's like what I wanted to accomplish today. So I'm glad that we did. Anything? Stony, I know you got something for me. Who else is on the stream? Who's lurking? Brent, you're probably lurking. Sammy Allip, you were chatting earlier, then just went silent. Just came by to say hey. Anyone? Okay. You're frustrated with Visual Studio and Xamarin. I really have nothing that I can add to that conversation because I don't use Visual Studio or Xamarin. And you mean like the actual Visual Studio, right? Not like VS Code, right? Cool. I'm going to push these changes up in case anyone does want them. I think I might have problems with this. Removing. Yo, Jess, what's going on? Have you been here this whole time and just lurking, or did you just show up? Jess just shows up to say RIP and yo, no. Just joined. Oh, okay. What were you up to today? Were you live streaming earlier? Okay. I'm pushing this changes up. No, I'm not. So annoying. Texting from your quarantine den. Oh no. Quarantine? Did you get COVID? I don't even know. What is Xamarin? Oh, I totally spelled that wrong. Open source mobile app platform for .NET. Yeah, Jess, you missed the yeah, you're so sick in general that you get the antiviral. I'm not sure I understand, but I'm sorry to hear that you're sick. Oh, you're asymptomatic. Okay. Wait, you're so sick in general, but you're symptom free. I'm not sure how that works, but regardless, I'm sorry that you're sick. Okay. Glad that you were able to get it treated. Sorry that you have to be in quarantine. Well, yeah, once again, glad that you were able to get it treated. And yeah, sorry you're in quarantine. I actually kind of got to the end of the stream today early because, well, we were doing some GitHub code action automation for, what were we doing? This is mostly what it looks like for checking our code quality for linting issues, static analysis, testing, and then also running an audit. Oh, you know what? There is one thing I need to fix actually. I'm sorry, Stony. I don't do any of the mobile development. I feel for people that do because I just want the web platform to win. Like I wish that I wish like Apple would be a little bit more embracing to the web platform, and I hope that what are the web apps? Yeah, like I wish web apps would be a thing. It feels like they've been around for so long now that yeah, I don't know. Anyway, what I was going to do, there is one last step in our project, is we have tests for our style guide, for our static analysis, for our automated tests locally, and we have that running locally. And we have some checks now that automatically run on pre-commit hooks to prevent those tests from running in GitHub Actions unnecessarily. But the last thing is in our check code, we have all of these things running serially, and we want to run those concurrently. So we can actually just do Npm Run Audit. And we can do that, remove all three of those. We'll turn that into an audit command. We can change the name on this, right? Where's the name? Lint. There we go. Audit. And now that we have our auditor running with all of our things running concurrently, we can test this out. So let's check our code. Let's see. Checks code. Move serial code checks to parallel. Okay. And then let's see, git push once that's ready. So that's taking a bit longer because it's running ESLint on our changes. Okay, we can push that up. And I don't know if anyone here can help. For some reason, I can't push changes from here because I always get this error. Make sure you have correct access rights to the repository. But then when I just push from here, it just worked. Like I just did a git push and that worked just fine. So I don't know. Oh yeah, you do a self-hosted Netflix server. Yeah, that's probably a little bit more complicated than what progressive web apps can do. That was the name. All right, so now that we've pushed everything up, cool. We have a broken test. That's awesome. Or our code is failing. What is failing? Okay. Npm Run Audit. Nope, not that. Audit. I think maybe that kill others flag might be ruining things. No, why did that fail? I don't know. Okay, so we've got our audit command. It fails. One thing we can do is rerun our test. And we can see that as the test starts, okay. Every once in a while, it's just a matter of it fails on their end. So Jess, when is your next stream? Is it happening? Am I actually going to be able to watch it? Because I feel like you've been streaming on like really obscure times for me. Why is this not working? Process completed with exit code 1. You haven't streamed. Yeah, I would totally. I'm like looking forward to watching. And anxiety, yeah. Home and not having a stable multi-threaded backend or learn C#. Stony, you should just do everything in JavaScript. It's the way. It's the way of the future. Split the step. You think so? So instead of running them, to check to make sure what's the problem. That's smart. Okay, let's undo all that. We'll grab all of these. We'll comment that out and throw those back in. So lint, static analysis. Yeah, I'm thinking it is just GitHub Actions because if I run the audit command locally, everything is fine. There were a couple of things that we changed with concurrently. So it could be either, well, I don't think it would be concurrently though, because that's running here just fine. So we'll see. Splitting these back into their separate steps was a good idea. You do that already. Are you insane? You're not insane, as far as I know. Multi-threaded Node.js backends with queue runners. Yeah, exactly. It's easy, Stony. Just make it happen, you know? So git status. Let's see. git commit split audit steps. I'm so bad at writing commit messages. Okay. Skip. No files for inspection. That's fine. Yeah, that looks right. And then git push. Yep. So has anyone seen? Yeah, the other thing that I want to look into is semantic release. Anyone using this? The next thing I want to do is automate all of these GitHub these GitHub code checks and stuff, and then also automate releasing code to npm, because that's something we can do in this last hour, or half an hour or whatever. Okay, let's look at our actions. All right, Jess, I'm gonna fall to you on this one. Why is my linting static analysis? Oh, look at that. I do have an error. Okay. So I have an error in my code that is returning warnings, though, not errors. So this actually shouldn't be an issue. So I have errors, but not, or warnings, but not errors. All of my static analysis passes, all of my tests pass. Why does it work as serial steps, but not concurrently swallows too much? I can't tell if you're saying that it swallows up the errors too much, or if you're being provocative about how you feel about concurrently. And I'm sorry for that, but hopefully I'm not being too suggestive there. Yeah, so it's not telling me a lot of the errors of what's going on. It's also not erroring locally. Maybe, what if we do this? What if we run all four? So let's try this. Git status. Yep. Git commit. So, man, I try to be a good person, but it's really hard sometimes. Commit running all four checks. All right. Cool. Git push. Looks like our code is going up to GitHub, which means we should have some new actions running. Be-doo-doo-doo-doo. There's one other option I have here, which would be GitHub actions run concurrently. I mean, OpenCLI, I guess. Here, how do you run GitHub actions concurrently? Because once again, I don't want to give up on this. This is a good feature. Familiar with GitHub. It look like this. npm version. Okay, but Stony, you're talking about that. That's not quite true, because oh no, I'm thinking npm patch. Okay, so you just call. So if I have GitHub Actions set up, I would have to provide my npm credentials for GitHub to be able to publish on my behalf, right? And you're saying that if I run npm version, Like NVM version patch? I don't know. Ah, with patch. Okay. Yeah. So the problem there, did it do anything? I don't know if it did anything. But the problem with that is it increases the patch integer. Yes, I have seen that and I've used that. But for that to work automatically, I still need to detect whether something is a patch or a minor or a major release. And Semantic release can do that for me. Give me one moment while I try and figure out one thing at a time. Jobs, let's see. I want to run GitHub actions run concurrently and parallel. Can I trust the automation in that though? I think so. So let's look at this. Semantic release. So this is a really interesting project because it tries to make all of this automatic for you, but the way that it works entirely depends on your Git history. So you have to write commit messages that look like this. How's my volume, by the way? This sounds really loud. Let me turn this down. You have to write commit messages that look like this. You say what kind of message it is. I don't really know what the perf one is. And then as long as like if you use a fix, if all of your messages since the last release contain just fix, then it's going to be a patch or a fix release. If any of your messages contain feat, as in feature, it will turn the next release into a minor release. And if any of your Git history since the previous release contains a commit message with which in the message has this capital breaking change, the next release will be published as a major release. Yeah, it's super cool. I've got it set up where it's automatically publishing, but the first release that it published was a 1.0.0, which is not what I wanted because I'm trying to set it up on Bedrocks, and that is a pre version 1. So it's still on like a super early, it's not even a .1 release. So when it automatically published a version 1, I was like, whoa, not cool. Where is it? I guess I unpublished it, so you can't see it. But yeah, I'll get that set up. Or I guess in this last half hour, we can look at finishing that up. As long as I can, I want to run these in parallel. Come on now. Actions. Running all 4 checks still fails. This is going to be real wild because it's going to go through all 3. Yep, lint, static analysis, and test all pass, but running it as concurrently fails. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try getting rid of raw and kill others because really, kill others is a good one. I'm going to try getting rid of just raw. Okay, so let's try this. GitHub actions. Get rid of those. No, we'll save. We'll save that. And git commit, add, and message is going to be testing no raw audit. Okay. It's also worth mentioning, since we're looking at these git commit things and automating all that, one thing that is totally worth mentioning is you see how I did a git commit and we ran that left hook stuff? Well, the reason why we can't depend on running all of these processes only on users, developers' computers during the pre-commit process is because, let's see, if I undo that last commit, we can see git status. So I've undone that commit. I still have it to be committed. I can actually run git commit. I think the message. Let's see. I can actually say no verify, and this will circumvent the pre-commit hook running. So it just goes straight to publishing it. So we have to be careful with that as well. Anywhere that there's a way for developers to get around it, theoretically, all of these tools are in place for them not to do that, but it is possible. So we want to be defensive about that. So the last thing I do is git push. Cool. We'll go to our actions. We'll wait for that to run, and hopefully that's it. Like, unless it's like npm concurrently fails GitHub actions. Npm sol. I wonder, one thing that I'm really doubtful of, but it could be these single quotes. So let's try double quotes just in case this does fail. And of course it failed. Gosh, this is the annoying stuff. Okay, let's do git commit am dub quoties. Should have done no verify. Okay, git push. Who said web development isn't fun? At least I got some good music. And it's so weird that it doesn't give me an error message. Concurrently fails GitHub actions. That's the best I got. Oh, so disappointing. You'd say to not allow the not verify flag. How do you tell? How can you do a rule that says don't allow the no ver? Can you tell Git not to allow no verify? Because that's like configured on everyone's individual machines, right? Yeah, I mean, you can ask people not to do that, but unless there's a way to actually enforce it and enforce it across multiple people's machines, then good luck. I don't know. I just never trust that sort of thing. Some things you can enforce with convention, and some things you can enforce with software. I'm glad I'm not on your team, Stony. You'd be like cracking the whip on me. Okay, well, I can't seem to figure out how this works. So let's move on and let's see. But the people on my team don't work for me. The people on my team work with me. I'm not hiring people. I'm a coworker, you know? So let's see if we can get this thing working. Do I have, let me see, I'm gonna pull this over and see. Okay. let's see if I can get this working. I need to go to Bedrocks. GitHub.com/Austin Gill/Bedrocks. Let's clone that. The default branch has been renamed. That's good. So git clone. And then we'll cd into that, and we'll pull up code here. Actually, before we... oops. What did I do? Stop that. Before we finish there, yes, I trust the authors. I am the author. Let's pull that back up one more time. And I'm just going to finish this so that if anyone wants to copy this code, it's actually working. So let's go to the GitHub Actions, check code. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to bring these back how they were. So npm run, let me copy this. Comment this out. We'll mark this as a to-do just in case. I don't know, Stony. I don't think I trust people. I trust people, but if I can but I trust computers more to at least do what I tell them to do. So we'll npm run lint. And then we'll do static analysis. There we go. Run ts. And then test. All right, then at least this is working. Git commit GitHub actions working. No. I really love having pre-commit hooks, by the way. It's so nice. Okay, so that's good. If anyone is interested, I will share the link right now in the chat. It should be, what is it? GitHub Actions demo. And we can see, yep, 24 seconds ago. Cool. There you go. They're nice and ready if you need it. So now let's see if we can get this semantic release stuff set up. Okay, got it. For Bedrocks, because most of the time, what Bedrocks is like a very simple CSS starter that I have, that I maintain. It's literally like a main.css file. And so if I go through, I may, like, very frequently, I just want to change stuff on GitHub. Like, I'll come here, I'll edit this, I'll make a change, and then I'll hit save, right? So what I would like to do is have this set up so that if I just do my whatever commit message correctly, it'll use semantic release to automatically deploy that to npm for me. And I've got it set up sort of. So I think if we look at our code base, we're on the production branch. We have semantic release set up as the publish command. And then we have a GitHub workflow that at the end of it runs publish. Looks very similar to the work that we've just done. A couple things that I had to do was set up the repo name. Do I need a repo name? I don't even think I need a repo name. Oh, maybe I do. But I had to set up some secrets inside of GitHub with a GitHub token and an npm token. I don't think I needed a GitHub token, actually. But those are set up here. I go to my settings. I go down to I go down to secrets and actions. And I have 2 secrets here, which I can't even show you if I wanted to. But you basically come here, you say add a new repository secret, you say best friend, and you put in something like Stony Eagle. And then once you add that, it's going to be obfuscated so no one can see it. But you can then access these tokens, the names of them, inside of your GitHub actions with this syntax: $ curly curly secrets dot whatever it is, and then curly curly. And this worked to actually publish to NPM. And then semantic release worked. Okay, so far so good. Now, what do I want to do? Let's actually test this. Because the workflow that I want is, yeah, like I said, I would like to be able to come here, go to base.css. I'm going to add you as my best friend, but not as a secret, because it doesn't need to be a secret that we're best friends, Stony. It needs to be public. Okay, one of the ones that I wanted to add, this. So let's go here. Outline. Let's see. I'm not sure. Let me go here and see what this actually looks like. So in my demo, I can see how the code works. There's, whoa. Oh, so weird. Wait a minute. Why am I not able? Okay. Why am I not able to focus on these links? I am. Okay, I'm on these. Why are these links not focusable? Anyone seeing that? Anyway, let's get down to some links down here. Okay, that's the link I want to look at. This one should not be focusable, but somehow this one is. But whatever. I want to change this so the focus state is maybe not a box shadow. Let's bump this up. So it's maybe not a box shadow, but it actually is this outline. So if I change the, let's see, outline to 5 pixels solid. Yeah, that's probably not what I want. But I may want like 2 pixels solid. And then I want the outline to also have some outline offset. So outline offset of 0.1 em, maybe? Or 0.25 em. Maybe 0.1 em. Okay, so if I wanted that style, right? Because this is kind of cool. So that, yeah, when I look at a button, I've got a little bit of a gap between. Let's do this on the button instead of the link. Add the focus state. Okay, 0.25 is too much. Whoa, that's not what I meant. Where's my button? There's my button. And I want this to be 0.15. 0.15 I like. 0.2 is okay. 0.15 it is. Okay, 2 pixels solid, 0.15. Cool. So this should be 0.125 rem and solid. That's a good outline style in my opinion. And maybe it should even be solid highlight. I'm going to go for that. So I am changing the styles for this project. And because I'm editing this, this is what my outline, I'm just going to comment this out. And we'll comment that one out. And we're going to say that this should actually be accent color or highlight. There we go. I like it. Okay. So now, for semantic release to work, in theory, this would probably be like a breaking change. But I'm going to try and mark this as a fix because I want this to just bump the very small npm.js bedrocks. I only want this to bump to version 0.22. So in theory, this should be like fix, right? Triggering release, pre-releases, extending recipes. Okay, yeah, we got the installation. It should be installed just fine. Configuration. Even this is set up. I've got my GitHub token. I've got my NPM token. I've got my GH token. And then my configuration file. My configuration file is set up in my package.json. I'm only releasing the branches that are on production, which is fine. That should be working. Tag format. Okay. Plugins, dry run. I could try a dry run. Git environment variables. I just want to see how I'm supposed to actually write these things. How does it work? It works with these commits. Automatically determines next semantic version number. Yes, by default uses Angular commit conventions. Okay, so commit message format. Type, scope, summary. Commit types can be build, CI, docs, feat, fix, perf, refactor, and test. So definitely fix works in there. Should, theoretically, work in there. So we're going to go to our code. We've made our change. We're doing our fix. We're passing in a scope, which should be optional. Header, body, footer. The type and summary fields are mandatory. Type and summary. The scope field is optional. Okay, but we'll include a scope anyway, just in case. So the scope is base.css. Base.css. And then it should be colon, and then space, and then a short message. Replacing outline styles. styles. Optional extended description we don't need. Commit directly to production, sure. Commit changes. All right, let's see how this goes. Go to my actions. I've triggered a new action. And you can see how I've tried in the past and had to set it up myself before. Okay, so let's see. Replacing outline styles. It's running our CI pipeline. That is setting up some jobs. Cool. We're installing node modules. And this all corresponds to our GitHub Action workflow, where we have our checkout, our cache, we install our node modules, and then next is publish. So install, cool. This is going to take a minute. Okay, npm run publish. This is so annoying. It's publishing 1.0.1. Very close. I mean, the cool thing is that it actually published. So sometimes npm has like cached versions. But technically I should be able to like, let's see, code sandbox. Well, I should be able to go and say npm bedrocks at latest. And that, here's my dev dependencies. No? Maybe it doesn't like being installed in its same directory. Okay. How about if I do a completely new page? No? Still installing. Boy, this thing has a lot of dependencies. Okay, so yeah, see, we can see that the latest version installed is 1.0.1, which is not what I wanted. I wanted it to be, I guess, what do we have? 0.0.22 would have been nice. Which means I have to go in and npm unpublish. What's up, Jess? Glad to have you back. We are. Have you ever worked with semantic release? I'm just about to finish up here. Am I going for semrel? Semver? Semantic release. Semrel? Yes. Am I going for semrel? I have no idea what that means. There's a project called Semantic Release. Oh, like this? Like you've used this and it's not fun? Okay. In that case, what would you recommend? Because what I want is I want to be able to make a change to my code base from GitHub and commit that change and then have my release automatically published to npm, ideally, which I do have it set up. And it worked to publish to version 1.0.1 a moment ago, but it should have respected that it's on 0.0.21. So that's the only thing You've used semantic release at work. Works great for what you need. Okay, so it's the best tool. It's just not fun. Yeah. Okay. So Rugmat, what's going on? Do you know how to publish a 0.0 release? There are different rules for pre-releases. Okay. So yeah, the pre-releases, but what pre-release would be like beta or alpha, right? And technically I mean, I guess I'm maybe it's me that's wrong, but I feel like a dot zero or 0 is sort of a alpha. Okay, once you hit 1.x, it behaves differently. Okay, so it should work as I want. So then the next question becomes, if I have a project that is highly unstable, because the developer is highly unstable, uh, what's the best approach in terms of semantic versioning? Because 1.0 seems like pretty stable. So pre-releases then. Search, please. Publishing pre-releases. There's an open GitHub issue about this. I should maybe jump in and bump that. Yeah, that's such a pain though, because sometimes I'll be on a computer that doesn't have my project set up, and it's particularly on this project. Like there's certain projects that you need to download and like test out and run locally to see. This one in particular is so easy to just log into GitHub, make a change to the source code, and then commit it, and then it's done. And even if someone else, because then if someone does a pull request too, just having it come into the project will automatically publish that release. That would be so sweet. But yeah, the my whole journey in open source maintenance and projects and stuff, it's been tough to do the automated release. I still do everything manually, and it's a killer on time though. Okay, so that's pretty handy. I wish. Okay, we'll start making the first commit to the project with the code for the initial release. There you go. That's what it is. Okay, well, very handy to know that for anything after your initial uh, stable release, semantic release, great project. Anything before that, I don't know so much. So let's see if we can figure out how can I do, okay, this recipe will walk through simple release, pre-release, example uses semantic release, branches, plugins. Yo, Bart, what's going on? Yeah, I don't know what most people are using these days because Lerna was like mono repo stuff, right? So let's see what we have here. Thank you, Jess. Allow major version to be 0. Yeah, that would be lovely. Yeah, I mean, another solution is like I could just treat it as a 1.0, but version numbers are for machines, not people. Ooh, they are a contract between a library and its dependents. Strongly recommend to start at version 1, just like npm does. Maybe fair argument. would like to follow. Ooh, semantic versioning recommendation. This does this point to a anything under 1.0 though? Meaning of 0.x version is not clearly defined, understood. There's an FAQ about this in the documentation. Now this is just devolved into a stream of me learning about semantic versioning. So wait, they said there's an FAQ about this in the documentation. Is there a 0 dot though? Yes. Can I set initial release? This is not supported by semantic release. Well, there you go. Let's see what I miss. Whoa, you guys are on it right now. Okay, let's see. Where do we start? Bart came in. Do you have a Git tag already on the project? Rugmat, you're talking about my project, Bedrocks? I don't know. Let's see. Releases. There's 2 tags. Yes. Yes. And apparently these were tagged along with by semantic release for me. So apparently it's doing that job just fine, which is actually wonderful, except that it doesn't support 0.x. Oh, Cypress is like 1,000% Lerna. That sucks. I heard NX is good. What are the other ones? NX is probably the first one that comes to mind. Or PNPM is supposed to be good for monorepos too. Let's see. Change sets. So Jess, are you going to ViewConf? I think you are, right? Bart decided to crash on the hotel that I'm staying at. Or I guess it's like an Airbnb. It looks like a motel that was converted to Airbnbs. But pretty excited. We're gonna be chilling with some pool at the pool. May bring some floaties. Who knows? Well, anyway, I got stealing devs' ideas is the core of open source software. We're gonna quote. That's the quote of the day. All right. Well, I got to the bottom of what I wanted to show people today. Ooh, yes. Please please let me know. I would love to be involved. I got the okay go from my company, so I have my flight and my hotel booked, and I've got my roommate booked, Bart. Hey, before I stop the stream, let's start a raid train. That's right. Let's see, where are we going with this raid? Yeah, ljtech.ca. That's what I was thinking as well. Yeah, I did get invited to speak. Speaking at conferences, it's funny because it always goes, for me anyway, it always goes, oh, I have a really good idea and I'm sure everyone's going to love it before I actually start writing. And then once I start, like I'm in the middle of preparing the presentation, then it's like, I don't know if people are actually going to, I don't know how many people are actually going to like this, but we'll see. And then by the end of writing my talk, I'm just like, oh gosh, I hope no one shows up for this. It's going to be terrible. But trying to get over that this time. I think it's going to be fun regardless. I'm really looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see those of you that are going to be there in person, because it's been way too long since I've been to an in-conference event. The last in-conference event I was at was ViewConf 2020, 2020. And the first in-person event I'm going to be at is ViewConf 2022. So looking forward to it. Yeah, can't wait. Anyway, let's do this raid. We are moving over, and thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the help with the automated releases as well. And I hope that those of you that were here at the beginning learned some cool stuff about automating your code and your code quality stuff, and how to save money on GitHub Actions as well. Cool. Catch y'all next time, and let's head over.